Welcome to Dalma Makes. This video is part of a series where I make potion bottles out of household waste. There's two projects in this video. In the first one, I'm going to transform this miniature jam jar into an interesting ingredient jar. This little jar was molded with a serial number in the bottom, so I decided to cover that with a wooden disc. And I'm going to decorate it with a little bit of a lace ribbon, and I'm going to attach a metal flower and a flatback plastic thingy to the middle of it as decoration. The shape of the lid is quite cute, so I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to paint it. And to do that, first I needed to give it a vigorous sanding, as it had this really shiny coating on it that the paint would have a lot of trouble sticking to. I'm going to end up adding many layers of paint to it anyway, but I'm starting with a nice bright red and just giving it thin coats and time in between to dry. I'm also going to paint that disc that I'm going to attach to the bottom, and I'm going to paint both sides as it will be visible through the jar. And I might as well paint that synthetic lace ribbon I'm going to use, as its original color was this baby blue, and I definitely wanted it to match in tone, so I just painted it with the same acrylic paint. For the second layer, I went in with some brown, hoping that it's a bit less transparent, that has better coverage, and applied a little bit of a thicker layer. Then returned to add another coat of red, and this time it's a lot more opaque and I'm liking it much better. This little jar is very clear and very cute, so I want to keep it transparent, and I'm going to fill it with something interesting. I had this little foam red ball that I think was maybe a berry originally. I have these little bushy tufts, so I just cut them off and trimmed off any unsightly bits. And to make them look a little bit better and more interesting, I'm going to dry brush a lighter green over them for some color variation, depth and interest. While those dry, I'm returning to the lid and adding sort of muted orange, but this time applying it with my finger, as I'm not going for full coverage. And I did the same with the other elements, including the lace ribbon, but very, very gently, only touching the raised surface to bring out that interesting print. I attached this little foam cherry to the middle of the bottom of the jar, and I used hot glue for this, as well as to attach the red disc. I think the red bottom makes it look more interesting if you're looking through the jar from the sides as well. And I went ahead and used more hot glue even for the lace ribbon. Glass is quite finicky, but I don't think this little jar will have much wear and tear. The chances of anything detaching are very low. To finish the paint job on this, I'm going in with a beautiful metallic bronze and just very gently rubbing on a little bit of it to bring that metallic sheen. And I also unified in color that metallic flower I'm going to use at the top. This way everything matches in tone. I attached that flower with some glossy accents as I was worried the hot glue wouldn't hold on to the metal. Once all the glue has fully set, it's time to put it all together. So I take those mini tufts of greenery from before and I'm just strategically placing them, completely filling the jar. That little red cherry in the middle is still going to be visible from certain angles, and I think the contrast of green and red is very pleasing to the eye. And that's it. That's basically the transformation. I'm sure most of us encounter those tiny gem jars when we go on a holiday or at a restaurant sometimes. And here's just an idea of how you could give it a second life. Of course, one could decorate it in many different ways. I just showed you one way. For the second project in this video, I'm going to use an empty pepper grinder. Unfortunately, I lost the footage of the first steps of this project. I got rid of the original cap and replaced it with a coat button and then wrapped the entire surface of the bottle with aluminium foil tape. This material here is actually the strap of a watch that I cannibalized for parts, and it had this really interesting micro chainmail texture, but I didn't have a lot of this material, so I decided to use it as some kind of panels. I wanted this bottle to have a lot of texture on the exterior, so to achieve that I'm using my mismatched seed beads. I'm just squirting out some hot glue in certain areas, and as you can see, I'm just pouring them on and pressing them in gently with my fingers. It's a little bit messy and a lot of the seed beads definitely wanted to roll away, but it was also really fun. I didn't like the neck of this bottle as it looked, well, too bottle-like. So to transform it into something more interesting, I wrapped some random yarn around its neck. Of course, at this stage I have lots of really strange materials, so to make it easier to imagine as a unified item, I'm first just base coating it in a black acrylic paint. The paint had a little bit of a trouble sticking to all those different metallic surfaces, so I'm going in with dark brown over that as a second coat, and this acrylic paint is a little bit higher quality and it goes on more matte and sticks a little bit better to all the different surfaces. This also secures those seed beads as some of them were still shedding a little bit even though I pressed them into the hot glue. This bottle was really fighting me as it still wasn't fully covered after the second coat, so I'm going in with the third coat, this time with a nice blue, which is closer to the actual color I wanted this bottle to have. However, that dark brown in the background is actually serving me as if there's anything peeking through, it's just going to look like a warm, intentional shadow. I also skipped the wrapped neck part as I liked the brown there. I decided to add a little bit of a tannish yellow to those flat surfaces with the watch strap parts, and a very nice bright blue to the main body of this potion bottle. I rather like how that turned out, but I wanted it to look a little bit magical, so I added some blue metallic paint on top of the original blue. The coat button I used for the top has this really interesting design that makes it look like that it could be a flip top cap. So I emphasized that design by painting the different sections in different colors. I also decided to dry brush a little bit over the seed bead textured parts. I also decided to use a warm tan on the yarn wrapped neck. To finish, I couldn't help myself but to add more metallic paint. I'm using a sort of warm bronze for this, and I think it was definitely the right decision, as it makes those seed beads really stand out, as well as the texture from the aluminium foil. Until the potion bottle has a label. And this is just a tiny printout that I cut out carefully, and I'm just attaching it with a little bit of air dry resin, as that metal watch strap gave me a lot of headache before with the acrylic paint not sticking to it. And here it is, our little potion bottle is finished. Please let me know in the comments what you think about it, and also which one of the two projects in this video was your favorite. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a nice day. Bye.